Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Monday's edition of Pre-Market Info.
A few technical difficulties this morning, but we're up and running here now. We're down 13 points here. No deal over the weekend. Surprise, surprise. The talks break down, and the market falls.
It all started on Saturday night with Michigan losing in quadruple overtime, and then the Tigers blowing it to
Oh, man.
Boston. I should have just that game. I should have just stayed in bed and not
Man.
even come in this
I'm telling
morning.
you, this weekend here with sports, terrible weekend. Obviously, well, Saturday night the Tigers won, but they have a 5-0 lead and they blow that. That was just, and Scherzer was rocking. I wish they would have brought him out for the eighth. I wish they would have brought Scherzer out for the eighth because he was rocking and he was mowing them down. And you know when you get into the Tiger bullpen, it can always get sketchy. And it didn't take long, and Kaplooey and Big Papa, and it is over.
And I guess the only thing that could be worse if I would have come in long here, but fortunately I didn't. Big drop overnight in the S&Ps on no deal. We got down to 1680 here in the pre-market, getting a little bit of a bounce back up here to the 1690 area. So just looking at minor support mid-range here at 85. That's where we're trading. We bust back above that 1690, then we can start to get back up to yesterday's high at 1700. But boy, they took the gas right out of this market over the weekend with no deal.
Yeah, they really did. And gold is rallying here this morning, as you would think it would. It has been trading very defensively. When the market rallies, gold's been going down. So the correlations, unlike a year ago, the correlation seems to be back, the negative correlation that is. And gold getting back up here, really selling off obviously on Friday, but this morning here trading back up at 1285.80. I don't know, 1300's been support forever, and that's probably going to be a resistance area if we get up another $10 from here.
Right, gold acting like gold here, going up when, a little bit of a fear in the market here. When I was looking at the chart over the weekend, I was thinking, man, if this thing does start to go back up, there's not a lot of resistance in there. Friday's high, 1294.80. We didn't quite get to that level yet, so we've already taken back the losses from the end of the week. 1294.80, I said it was Friday's high, and then if you can rally another 1500, another $15, you got to figure 1300 is going to be resistance.
And crude here this morning sitting on the lows, and this is getting dangerous here because we've been talking about the crude support for quite some time. Down here 101.55 this morning. We did get down to $100.60 on Friday, but it seems like we've been hanging out at these lows just a little bit too long.
Yeah, they pierced it on Friday, took it under 101, and did get a rally back a little bit, and even during the overnight session here, crude did sneak back into the 102 handle, trading a little bit above 102.50 here. You do have Friday's high was still under 103, 102.95, but couldn't get there. It looks like we're going to be leaning on this 100.60 support level here, perhaps a little bit later in the day or later in the week. And then after that, I was looking on the dailies here. I might even need a weekly to take a look at it. If you do get through that level, that 100.60, there's really not much even at the point. You get down to 99.84, and that was your low on July 5th. So crude sitting on some big support.
Not a lot of individual news tonight, but there is some news on Netflix, and Netflix is trading up $6 right now. They're in talks with Comcast to do streaming video with Comcast there. $6 gain here for Netflix. Stock's been actually holding up pretty well here. We did break down obviously for 2 days, but the last 2 days with the rally, we've been hanging out just above 300, and here we are. We're going to try to hold on to 300. We're bouncing here again, closed at 384, but we're up at 307.25 in the pre-market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a down market. You have it, trading up, so that's a good thing as far as relative strength. Just looking at this pre-market chart here, someone has an opinion at the 308 level. It's currently trading at 307 and a quarter. I'll keep an eye on that as a resistance at least off the hop here. Then you go to the daily charts, and you had the pullback here from 334.50, trading well under 300. So you got a little bit of ways to go to get that 50% retracement back, but early resistance coming in at 308.
As long as that holds 300, because it retook it. It was down there for one day, took out the key support of the $300 level that we were talking about, and then it's held. So as long as the 300 holds, I think the bulls are still in charge here. Let's move on to some of the individual components that are going to be reporting tomorrow, because there's no real earnings here today. No guns anyways, but we got a couple big guns tomorrow. Let's start with Citigroup. They're going to report tomorrow morning, and they're trading down here, obviously, with everything else trading down at 48.84. Up at $50. There's been some institution that's been wanting to sell forever, over 100,000 shares up at 50. So if you're trading it after, or if you're trading it tomorrow morning, you did have that high just from a while ago, 49.94. But I'm looking at that $50 as major resistance.
Kind of tight range here between 48.80 and 49 here. Just a little bit going back to Wells Fargo and J.P. Morgan. Those had some pretty wild ranges, but ended up being positive on the day. Taking a look at this, you did point out that $50 level, but more importantly here, you have the highs from yesterday right here, right near the high of the day, 49.25. Looks like you're running to a little bit of a double top here. So get up to the close and yesterday's high. You should expect some good resistance here in Citigroup.
We've also got Johnson & Johnson going to report earnings tomorrow, and it's been on a tear here. J&J basically 2-day tear. Stock closing up at $89.45, so pretty big pop. Actually closing nearly, or actually on the highs almost. 89.48 was the high from Friday, so it's been a great run for J&J. Got to think that $90 psychological level might come into play here if it gets a rally here. And obviously, the earnings, we'll have to see what's going to happen with that Tuesday morning.
Right. Kind of trading down here in the pre-market, right near the lows here. You settled right on the high, just like the S&Ps, and then you got the negative news coming out overnight. I do not like this daily chart. I do not like this double. Sound like I do not like green eggs and ham here.
I do not like this daily chart. I do not like this daily chart. Joel,
I do not like this weekly chart. Double gap situation. I do not like that at all. When you have it, you got the move coming off the 86 level, and then Goldman boosted a little bit on Friday to get it up there. So just a couple gaps to fill here. Don't like it. We're coming back into that $88 level as support. So I'll just keep an eye on 88. We're a little ways away from there right now.
And then if you're trading it tomorrow morning here and it's got the earnings coming out, don't forget that huge 86 level support has been support forever. So if for whatever reason the earnings are terrible, there's a lot of air below, but when you get down to that 86, there's been some hard support there for the last month. Also,
yeah, and it did.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. It did take that out. That's just interesting that it did take it out, one day, and then it came back and settled there. So cleared up the stops and let it get going back.
And you got CocaCola going to report tomorrow too. KO trading down here 37.60 right now. We've bounced pretty nicely on Coke too. It put in kind of a pretty good rounding bottom down there, just below the 37 handle, down at 36.83, and then we've had a couple days rally here on Coke too.
Right, running in resistance right under the $38 level. Is there somebody kicking around there? Some institution?
Don't see anything, but it wouldn't surprise me. They hide sometimes too, and it wouldn't surprise me. A big whole number like that hasn't been up there for 10, 12 trading sessions. It was old support back in August. We know old support can become new resistance, and it wouldn't surprise me if there is a few participants dumping at 38.
Right, I'll just keep an eye on that as a resistance point. Even if you get a little bit above that, you still have some highs right above 38. So perhaps a little bit of position squaring ahead of earnings. Looking at the pre-market here, just kind of holding here at 37.60. Not a lot of activity.
Intel will report tomorrow night, INTC, and stock is trading down 15 cents in the pre-market here. Again, this is another one that formed a nice bottom in the mid-22s called 22.50, where we had the rounding bottom, and then we've had the 2-day rally, and the stock's obviously popped up 75 cents since then. 23.25, but it is going to open down obviously today with everything else. Trading down at 23.10 right now. What do you think for the Intel earnings tomorrow night?
Someone gave them. It broke out. Looks like it was breaking out above 23, and I can't remember who it was, but it got that downgrade. That really did not hold up, very long. Got back above the $23 level, still trading above 23. So I kind of use that as a minor support point. You're right that that 2250 level is huge if you're looking to hold on to this longer term. You've built a great base of support there. And then coming up on the upside here, if you do get through yesterday's high, look, almost a double top there from Thursday and Friday, you get up to the 2340 level.
And then if you're looking after the report, so looking tomorrow night-ish, 24 bucks has been huge up there. So we always like to give you a little outside range when the companies are coming in earnings, just in case, they do get a significant move, which Intel, can often move 50, 70 cents off its earnings reports. Few upgrades and downgrades here just to talk about, just to highlight AMD getting upgraded here at Wedbush today. Stock is trading up 3 cents here, but if you like to trade these low price stocks, these $3.86 stocks, I'll tell you, resistance is very well defined on this one, and it's the big whole psychological number of $4. Also stepping in front of that, I can see multiple huge institutional orders. $3.95, a couple 100,000 shares. $3.92, 120,000 shares. So there's going to be participants all over the place, I think, in the 390s. So despite the upgrade, I think it's going to struggle to get up to $4 today.
You're right. 390 is what it hit in the pre-market. We haven't talked about this stock in a while here, but boy, that $4, I don't know if that was from last earnings when they popped up and then just came right back down.
Yeah.
But since then, it's really struggled at the $4 level. So I still keep an eye on that as major resistance. And coming back on the downside, looks like you've had a good 3 days in that stock. That low going back on Wednesday around 360.
You also got Merck getting a downgrade here today from Bernstein. Stocks trading down about 50 cents right now. Well, just ticked to 46.64, but now just ticked up to 46.85. So it is going to open down here on this downgrade. 47 bucks has been huge for this stock. It does look like it might open below that critical support level of 47. If that does take that out, you do have a low going back to August of 46.47. That might be your next area where they try to take it down to.
Right, these stocks have been kind of getting beat up lately here. A couple downgrades here. It looks like you got a string of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lower highs, and it looks like almost 8 lower lows here. Now you're breaking through the $47 level. That 46.47 you did identify, but the major support down this comes back in at the $46 level.
Yeah, that's huge.
You had some lows in June and July, but Merck not looking pretty, and I believe this is 2 consecutive. I think we had a downgrade on it on Thursday or Friday.
I feel like we had an upgrade in there too. I can't remember, but I think there was an upgrade and a downgrade, and the analysts are mixed on this one for sure. They're trying to figure out where it's going. The dividend yield off in these dividend plays, a little bit more conservative. Still 3.64%, so still got a pretty healthy dividend. And they got lower betas. These drug stocks just, when they move 60, 70 cents, that's pretty much what they got. So I don't think they're going to gas this thing down to 46 bucks today on this Bernstein downgrade. But I'd look at that first level, 46.47, maybe the first point. And if for whatever reason the next few days we start drifting down, you've defined pretty good support down there at 46. Other one.
It looks kind of tired here if you look at it on the monthly chart, though. Here it hit that 50 bucks and just been, 35 to 50. It only took almost 2 years to do that, and now it looks a little bit tired.
Yeah, it does. It's still one of the biggest positions in my investment portfolio. I don't have a trade on, but I invest in a lot of different stocks. We never talk about much investing on the show, but I always like to have a few key higher yielding lower beta stocks, and Merck is one of those key components that I do have in my portfolio. So aging population, I still like Merck as an investment. I don't know if I like it as a trade right now though. COH downgraded at Canaccord. It's trading down just slightly here, not a major brokerage house, but enough to knock it down, probably $1 today. It's trading 53.84 right now after closing at 54.49. And this coach chart, what do you think of this one here?
Well, they're knocking it down, like you said, in the pre-market here. 53.84 is the low. Taking a look at the daily. Wow, this is for normally a pretty volatile stock here. You had a couple days of tight ranges up there, and now you're not holding the $54 level. You have the low from Thursday just above 53, 53.20. So I'd keep an eye on that as support. And then I think if you get anywhere back, to the close, major resistance and probably 54. If you're playing it from the short side, gets back above 54, you might take a little heat.
And then let's move on to Apple here. We've talked about Apple, and it's this whole 492 to 494 area being resistance. It just continues to top out in the same area, it seems like, every day. Again, the same story on Friday. Gets up, makes a high of 493.84, closes at 492.81, and then with the overall market selling off, the thing's trading back in the 480s again.
Still in the trading range. I
Yeah, it
mean, it
is.
did get you a
Just
little. Yeah, probably got some people leaning the wrong way here on the close, thinking you're breaking out over this 492.50 level. Now, several lows between 478 and 480. Just have to, trade the range in here until
yeah.
it, at least gets a close one way or another.
Let's look at Facebook too. It had a key reversal there, kind of. Well, it's having a key reversal really here today with the overall market, but it got up close to the $50 level here. $50 was obviously a big psychological level. It had taken it out 4 days ago. Pops off the 45.26 low and straight up to where's it go? 49.87, just under $50.
And now where are you coming back down to in the pre-market? You made a 48 and a quarter low. I'd like to see those kind of things line up, with the dailies here. Look at that 48 and a quarter low going along with the pre-market activity. You break below that, and you're going to have a lot of people scrambling here that bought it on the rebound.
I feel like this thing's going to maybe pause here for a little. I just don't feel like there's as much fear in this as there was as it was coming through 50 now. So I think it's would be one that might be range bound here for a little bit too, with 50, the whole $50 area as resistance. Joel, moving on to the overall market, we are running late, so the market here is down 14 points today. We've obviously failed up there at the 1700 level on Friday, which seemed like a ridiculous 3-day rally when it goes from 1640 to 1700 on hopes that a deal is going to get done. The hopes are temporarily dashed here. Where do you think we find some support here? Where is the next level?
If this market is if this market's true to form at all, Dennis, probably the good action's over with. You dropped down, you made that low 1680 and change. Now you're drifting up to 1685. That's just about mid-range. I think we just chop around here. If we get anywhere near that overnight low, you're going to find buyers. Also, Friday's intraday low was 1682.50. If somehow they can get this under the 1680 level, then you got to look out for Friday's low at 1673.50. And then coming back on the upside, I kind of feel the same range about the high at 1690. You probably got some people stuck here, on the long side. So if it, gets back into the 1690 handle, they'll be trying to, wiggle out of some long positions. And then I guess you just got to keep an eye on Washington.
Washington will dictate where this market heads. We've seen that overnight. That's our show for today, guys. Have a great day. Back at you tomorrow morning.